What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse ranch, no hate. So you guys saw the thumbnail, and there's more to that post that I put up there, and it's a lot. So let me just say, pretty much, the PBC is said to be in the works of getting dropped, okay, come May, when their contract is up, that it won't be renewed more than likely. I read a different article as well, and it was pretty much saying the same thing, that they're failing to meet minimum numbers on, and that basically, Prime wants something bigger. They want something that can reach more people. Now, I said to you guys months ago, I said, even though the PBC is on Prime, I even forget that it's on there. And nobody talks about it. Boxing isn't being talked about the way it used to be. And the fact that you have so many people internationally that have a following, to where now it's not mainstream, but you see when Turkey Al-Sheikh puts a card on, being that he's able to put cards on with like, some of the best, some of the best fighting the best, then, he will get attention. Now, I don't know how well he would do. So Al Heyman basically is in the position of, look, before I get to that, I also read that Amazon and Netflix are having a bidding war right now to, get the Terrence Crawford versus Canelo fight. And also, I read in another article where it's saying that, even more in the same article, where it's saying that they, Amazon want a company that can reach out to more people. So they feel like the UFC that's what they want, is the UFC. And for that, if any boxing is to go on, it would probably be for example, with Netflix. Now, maybe, Turkey may end up working out some deal with them. Who knows? I don't know. I can't say for sure. But anytime you get on the platform, and for like it says in the thumbnail, for the PBC, that Prime is now the 12th platform that have severed ties with the PBC. Now, they've been around since 2015, so let's just say almost 10 years. And I remember back when, I can remember even asking the questions in my community section of who they feel, what promotion is putting the best fights on. And most people said Matchroom. And you got all of these people that, the PBC this, the PBC that. Okay, cool. If you like what the PBC is doing, fine. But part of the PBC being on Showtime, see, when they got dropped from there, everybody started coming up with all of these excuses about what happened, and they're gonna be on Prime, they're gonna be doing way better, and blah blah blah, and the zone is this and that. And it's like, man, it's something about people. They take pride in the thought of a company collapsing, falling apart because they like another company more. Not because of anything that they're doing that we know of that's wrong. Just, I like this. It's like pick a side, pick and choose, and then we'll cheer one and hate on the other one. Man, nothing's etched in stone, man. And Turkey, like I said, he's already showing dictatorship. He's already showing his mentality is like, hey, I'm putting this money up, so he feel like he has the right. No, you fucking don't. These fighters are not fighting for you. And what may be good today may wind up folding tomorrow. Boxing is not what people are trying to make it is. People keep talking about boxing like boxing is, it's growing, it's this, it's branching out, it's doing this, is that. Man, stop it. I'm telling you, I done came up and seen different eras where I'm telling you, people are not just talking about boxing. They're not. And when Logan Paul is the most talked about boxer, you know something's wrong. This is the point where people don't understand. You know, you're so fanboyed out that you're just speaking and saying things that don't even make sense. Just assuming that boxing is in a certain position. No, you know, when we look at what's going on with the PBC, look, for example, PBC shot themselves in the foot with their mentality. They tried to make all the fights in-house fights. You know, they didn't want to make money with other companies. They would tell other fighters, come fight with us just for one fight. Let's make the fight happen, this, that, whatever. Everything was money, 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 and it's always money. It's always. The problem is now, them being on Prime, is they expect them to have a certain, get a certain amount of buy rates, and they're not doing it. So it's like, okay, they're not going to renew them. Now, Turkey Al-Sheikh, I don't know what his numbers are looking like. Okay, but he might. I don't know that that's the case, but I know that he's trying to get his own boxing league too. Everything is about timing, but they're trying to get Dana White on there. They're trying to get the UFC. They're trying to get the rights to their pay-per-views and everything. So, it's looking like, Turkey Al-Sheikh is in a better position, obviously, than Al Heyman is right now, and so is Dana White, and they work together as well. And with TKO, they're trying to branch out and get their hands on everything. So it's looking like Dana and Turkey, working together is being chosen over Al Heyman and the PBC. It's like I tell you guys, man, there's always somebody that's greedier than you are. There's always somebody that's less immoral than you are, somebody that's whatever you are. So I'm saying this because you got these fighters that come out here, they fight hard, they train hard, they get overlooked. You got the fighters that get sympathy, the fighters that get favoritism, the fighters that basically get protection. You get all these different things, and then the guys that's out there really busting their ass and trying, they can't get the fights they want. And now with everything being marketable, where this person, just the fact that you have a platform, some type of social media outlet that have millions of fans, you got a nice following, and you can talk enough shit to where they'll work something out where you can come in there and pretty much fight a 78-year-old man, and people still want to see you fight. Let's just be real, man. Just think about it. I don't care people, but it's Mike Tyson. We give a fuck. The last time we saw Mike Tyson in a fucking ring before that Roy Jones fixed fight that they had, he was getting destroyed by journeyman. And people thought at 56 he was going to come back and he was just going to somehow turn the clock back. And the amount of people that tuned in to watch that, but Terrence Crawford don't get that many people. It's Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Joshua, people who are much younger and were in their prime. Even in their prime, they couldn't get the type of numbers that they have for Netflix for that fight. And for that, if people hold on to that one event and think like it's always going to be like that, no, it's not. And then you also got to figure, they like when people say false things like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano got the highest rated views and for like all women's event. Wasn't an all women's event. Everybody that was on that Shield Savannah Marshall card still got that. That wasn't an all women's event. And if you took Mike Tyson and you took Jake Paul off of that card, hardly they wouldn't even had close to what they had in terms of the numbers of watching it. Damn well, regardless to who else they didn't mind seeing, 100% of those people wanted to see Mike Tyson. And basically, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, all this dream match shit everybody's talking about, I don't think they're going to stick around too much longer anyway, looking at their ages. Okay, and if they stuck around to the point where they're in now looking like shit, who's going to tune in to watch them on Netflix or whatever? And especially in this day and time where people they have short attention spans. They get bored very quickly. So who's really going to tune in just to watch someone who used to be good? Netflix is a different platform, man. Like I say, this is more they watch Tyson versus Jake Paul more for the spectacle of it than like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a great boxing match. Because if you know boxing, you should have knew better. I know there's people that was hoping Mike would have knocked Jake Paul out that don't like Jake Paul, and that's all good. But he's the highest paid fucking fighter in the sport. Yeah, Jake Paul. And Jake Paul. So you guys, you know where I'm going with this. You know, there's no guarantee that even if Turkey was to get some type of deal with them with Riyadh season, whether it be Netflix, whether it be Prime or whoever, that his numbers are going to meet what the expectations. You know, you can't just assume, because you got to understand. Like, let's be real. Let's look at the type of cars that Turkey put on. Okay. Now let's do this comparison. How often do you hear people in the mall, supermarket, wherever, talking about who's going to win the World Series? How often do you hear people talk about who's going to win the NBA Finals and who's this and who's that and who's the best player, who has the best all-around game? How many people do you hear talking about football with what team they think is going to do? It's all year long. Even when this football season isn't in, same with baseball, all these different sports, right? Now, how often do you go somewhere and you just hear people just talking about different fighters? Oh yeah, that guy Cabriel is no joke. Yeah, I want to see Cabriel versus such and such. Oh yeah, that dude Jao Patai. Yeah. How often? Nobody's really talking about boxing like that, man. My circle of people, places I go, people that I know, that we have that common interest, that's where the conversation comes from. But really, just in general, nobody's really talking about boxing like that, man. Okay, so this is my point. So these people they say, oh, they have a country behind them, but that doesn't mean that they're getting millions and millions of views. So, right now, and for sure, more so than what Turkey is doing, people see the UFC is a hot ticket, man. And, you know, you got Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes, who's coming out of retirement to fight her. So, you know, that would be a great selling point to try to, you know, get the UFC on one of those, you know, platforms. But, you know, as far as the PBC goes, man, I mean, like I said, it's been very quiet, man. And one of the biggest problems that you have in boxing is fighters they have every excuse to not fight each other. And even with Turkey's involvement and the money being there, you still have people that it's so hard to get. It's like these guys want to be rock stars. They want to be freaking celebrities. They want to do everything except be fucking fighters, man. So even with Turkey's involvement, this is what I'm saying. They might be able to get a deal, but how long is the deal going to last? We don't know. Like I said, boxing is not in the mainstream. People talk, no, it's not, man. You see, here's the camouflage. The celebrities come out. You got the fighters walking out to the ring with certain rappers and all of this. And how many people are there for the actual fight? How many people are really there for the fight itself? Man, he's red carpet, a movie star, fucking, you know, now Denzel is an actual boxing fan because that motherfucker comes in there and he watched from the first fight to the last. He like, fuck red carpet pictures and shit. I'm out here to, you know, he when the building's half empty, he's in there watching. You have a few, like a handful, if you have a full handful. But for the most part, man, you got these people, they don't even know who's who. They're there just for the main event. Or they're there because they got an album coming out and they want to promote their shit. And this you know, it's not really a thing where, like, boxing is not mainstream. People can talk all the shit they want. Boxing as a whole, it's too much segregation. It's too much, oh, I'm PBC or I'm Matchroom, I'm this, I'm that. And then certain companies don't want to, you know, you go back and look at how HBO and Showtime both had a split with, you know, the Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao fight. And when it comes to, like, a big fight, everybody want to, you know, put their bid, and everybody want to be, you know, be able to say, hey, man, I want a piece of that too. But every fight is not a spectacle. Every fight is not a super fight. So even when you take the best and say that, hey, the best is fighting the best, it's really not as etched in stone as people try to make it. And especially too, one of the things you got to understand, if you have Netflix, you're paying for that monthly. If you have the Zone, you're paying for that monthly. If you have Max, you're paying for that monthly. If you have Prime, if you have Disney, if you have, Hulu, all these, that you're paying for these. For someone to decide, just think about it. Let's say someone that don't have any of those decide they're going to get it now because they want to watch UFC or they want to watch boxing. And let's say they start watching this shit and it doesn't deliver. They're going to unsubscribe. You see, and then they look at those numbers and go, hey, man, we had, let's just say, if we had 75,000 people subscribe, to Prime because we landed the Canelo Terrence Crawford fight. Then what's your next main event after that? And the next card, and that's what people got to understand, man. And this is where I'm saying, when it comes to boxing, y'all know how it is. With boxing, we get something good, then we get some bullshit. And if Turkey's going to be more active and more involved to where he has multiple events being put on, and he's able to get the best, to fight the best, that still doesn't mean that it's going to do the numbers that Amazon, that Prime, expect them to get. And so my point is, the same way it happened to the PBC, it can also happen, to the UFC. It can also happen, to whoever, whether it's Turkey, Al Sheikh, whoever. It can still happen to them as well. And then you got to remember, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul was seen as a spectacle of a fight. Okay, this was no super fight, no Super Bowl type of nothing. This was just an old washed up guy that had 8 blunt transfusions, went in there to fight a young guy that ain't worth a shit, but basically he's good enough to hang in there and defeat some of these, old washed up guys. And especially the ones that's not even real boxers. That's not even boxers at all. Jake's the MMA guys that had a very late age started to try to learn, how to box for the first time after they got in there with him. And then you got a guy like Anderson Silva who, come on, man. At some point, something that works right now doesn't mean it works 2 years later, 3 years later. It could be, we don't care about that anymore. But hey, man, this is the PBC. And my thing is this. I don't feel bad for any of these companies, and I'm going to tell you why. If a company, okay, if people are going, hey, man, we love what y'all are doing over there. We're successful over here, doing things, and we're grateful for that as well. We should work together, man, and let's get some of your guys. Let's make it happen, man. You got some guys over there fighting at welterweight. We got guys over, you know what I mean? No. It's like, instead of that being the case, it's more of a, you got people wanting to see. It's more like how can I put them out of business? Man, how can I persuade their fighters to come over here? And so if you don't mind trying to put someone out of business, if you don't mind trying to, stack your roster up and play the greedy, trying to, everything's about you and the people that's a part of your company, well then why would anybody care other than the people who sit here and pledge their bullshit allegiance to you guys like a bunch of idiots? But I'm just saying, this is, I'm not shocked about it. Like I said, I told you guys a long time ago, I said, man, the PBC, what are they doing? You look up there, you see the same Tank Davis versus this guy, whoever, Tim Zoo, it's this, you see the same shit. And I'm like, they don't have a solid, really big, solid library up there. And like I said, it's just there and there's that. And if they think that just being a part of it, just because they're the PBC, is that that's enough? Well, it's obvious it's not. On the business side of things, people get arrogant, they get cocky, they just feel like they see my name, they hear my name, they're gonna buy it, they're gonna whatever. And those 3 letters, the PBC, it's like anything else, it can fade away. So after 12 different platforms dropped you, stopped doing business with you, what's next for the PBC? I don't know, man. But they better figure out something. And here's the thing with me, I'm not even into the UFC the way I used to be, but I am into like Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. There's like certain fights that'll get my attention, but The UFC is not as exciting as it used to be to me. But that's what the people at Prime feel like is the hot ticket. One Fighting Championships. I watch them all the time, man. I watch that. I watch the PFL, but One Fighting Championships is on Prime. And they always have a solid show, man. I just love what they do. And then sometimes there's just not enough room on one platform to have the same, similar genres like that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Something that, I give you an example of something, right? I started watching rugby about maybe 3-4 years ago. I really started getting into rugby. All my life, I never gave a shit about rugby. Sometimes shit just happens, But at the same time, I don't watch the NFL like I used to. I barely watched any of that shit. The NBA, I barely watch it. And I'm trying to get back into shit, but it's man, when things change, sometimes you don't feel it anymore. Now, if you'd have asked me years ago, would I be watching rugby one day, I probably would have either said, I don't know, or probably not. You understand what I mean? I don't know, but I've gotten into rugby. So I'm like, okay, cool. So my point is, when you see all these other shows that you overlook because you just don't have an interest, you don't think about how many other millions of people are into it, though. So yeah, this is what I'm saying. Sometimes things have been around already, and rugby, I can tell you, is not a thing it's not a sport that a lot of Americans talk about. You understand what I mean? Soccer is not, even though you have American soccer team, soccer, rugby, it's really not something that most Americans are into. There's other sports that you like, people that play badminton and all that, and it's just other sports lacrosse, certain sports you don't pay attention to it, but then you realize they've been on these platforms as well. And so this is what I'm saying. The same way with a lot of people, and then you notice when they play rugby, the majority of the times, the teams playing are not from America. So certain sports are much bigger in other countries, but right here where we are in America, man, it's for me, I know that during the tight shit, back when Ali was no longer boxing, people was it was so easy to strike up a boxing conversation. Somebody was always talking about it in the barbershops and everything. Everywhere, school, everywhere you went. So, Holyfield, Tyson, Ray Leonard, Larry Holmes, everybody was talking about boxing. And boxing doesn't have that appeal anymore like it used to. You see, because of the money that's involved, that's what people are based it on. The money. But in terms of the sport itself, nah, man. Everybody was talking about Ray Leonard. They was talking about Duran and Hagler, and they was talking about these guys as individuals. They was talking about them fighting each other. They was talking about this. Now we got too much bullshit going on. So I really don't know that any any company can come to Amazon, Prime, come to Max, whoever, and really just flourish. I don't know that it can happen. We have to see it happen. One thing these fighters can't do, Turkey, you want to clean up some shit, forget that bullshit no running rule, because you're gonna fuck around and have a one-dimensional fucking cards, just a bunch of one-dimensional guys, because they're gonna go there and listen to you and stand up there and just tuck their chin and start swinging for the fences. That shit is not gonna last. You want to clean up something, man. You guys need this to hey, put it like this: when it comes to Riyadh season, why don't you do what other people aren't been doing, what they haven't been doing, that should have been done? Like guys making weight, like guys being random, having random drug testing, not putting up with racist bullshit, and you want to clean the sport up and make it respectable. How about that? Not trying to tell fighters how to fight, especially when you yourself never fought. You're not a fighter at all, and you basically are your input will cause people to not even care about who's fighting. And this is one of the things that, when it comes to you trying to sell a product, man, You know, like just think, for example, imagine signing Ryan Garcia, right? Now you imagine if they had a deal with Netflix, a deal with Amazon, and Ryan Garcia and Tiafimo said all that racist shit that they said then. Netflix and Amazon, people would be like, nah, hell no. And this dude is talking about calling people gay ass faggots and all that. Yeah, you do know that these companies have movies. They promote shit with like people of all walks of life. So yeah, somebody would have taken offense to them and said, hey, if we're gonna do business together, you gotta get rid of that guy. I don't ever want to see him a part of anything that we're doing anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot that goes on. I mean, cultural differences and everything when it comes to shit like that. People don't understand. Like, I was sitting here watching some movies, right? These were Indian movies. And I was watching them, and I had people in the house, and they said, man, the fucking ain't listening. Because why? You know, like damn near every Indian song with a female, they always had that little high-pitched voice, right? And even the guys they all have similar voices, right? But the beats, the tracks, everything sound like hip-hop. And they're like, yo, like, what is that? You know, shit like that. So you start watching things. What I'm saying, you watch Netflix. Do you pay a monthly subscription just to watch one thing on Netflix? I watch all the type of different. Don't get me wrong. I don't watch nothing LGBTQ, KRS, whatever the fuck, whatever. I don't watch that shit or whatever. I'm not into no that type of shit. But what I'm saying is there's so much diversity on there of shit where if you want to motherfucking like clean up the sport, clean shit up, man. Stop. You know, we're not gonna have people attacking each other before fights or after fights. We're not gonna tolerate, you know, racial slurs and hate speeches. You know, we're not gonna tolerate people coming up here disgracing the sport. You're more worried about somebody, a no running rule. Like there's far more important things for you to clean up. And yeah, because these fighters, man, the way they are, they're gonna fuck around and cause someone to lose a deal, or they're gonna get a lot of heat, and they're not gonna want to have to do that. They're not gonna want to do business with people with those mindsets. There's a lot that goes on, man. And if you notice something, right now, shit talking, all this stuff that people do during the like press conferences and all that, I still feel like people go too far. But when you get to the point, like just imagine Netflix, because when you look at what people said and what's going on, people are connected to what's happening on social media as well. And who do you think want to deal with Ryan Garcia? This motherfucker talk about digging up dead people and killing them, and he's KKK, he's anti-black, I hate niggers and all this shit. And then TFP with his antics and like, you know what I mean? Like, what type of audience are you trying to target? Because that pretty much that type of behavior, they'll say, we don't want this guy. He's bad from anything that we do. Now, the same way, like I said, Mauricio might change his mind one day. Maybe he won't. Okay? Hopefully he don't. But the same way he said, nah, man, Ryan Garcia is banned from any further business with us, this is what I'm saying. Everybody should disassociate themselves with people like that, because they understand, man, we're here to make money. You're here to entertain the fans. But if that's your form of entertainment, if that, and I can tell you, you know, even with Trump's presence, making people feel more comfortable to express that they're racist, yeah, I'm pretty sure he felt like, yeah, I can say what I want to say. I got the freedom of speech. Yeah, why not? And this is the same guy that's crying and begging for help right now. So all these things that go on, those little things, people get wind of it and they'll go, you know what? Nah, I'm good. Let's work with somebody else. Just saying, y'all, there's a whole lot of things that can happen that we might not even know about. You might hear some bullshit story about it. It's one thing and find out it's 10 other things. You know, but those things will make people say, nah, we're good. We don't want to work with this person. You know, and this is why I said Turkey should be ashamed of himself, because the only reason why that motherfucker had anything to say about Teofimo Lopez was because Teofimo said something disrespectful about him personally. Other than that, he said, I don't like to talk about religion and race and all those things. What do you mean? So you're going to tolerate that? You're going to allow that, but you're more worried about somebody dancing and moving and you call it running? I mean, come on, man. Yeah, William Skull was doing a lot of, excessive moving. Yeah, Devin Haney moved a lot. Didn't let his hands go like he normally do. No, this is a different Devin Haney. Yes, it was. But who are you to sit and tell somebody how the fuck to fight? Like, once again, it's like, imagine me letting you stay in my house because you got nowhere to go. But I'm going to stand up here and bully you and your wife. Hey, bro, you ain't got nowhere to go. This is my house. So if I want to watch your wife stand here and shower and get naked, you ain't got nothing. It's my house. That's pretty much the way Turkey is. Sit your ass down and stop walking around fucking walking up to fighters telling them that they're behind on the official scorecards. Injecting yourself and they're trying to give pep talk and show favoritism. And see, doing that, the judges might even be persuaded by Turkey. Turkey liked this guy. You know what? Even though we think the other guy clearly won, fuck it. Let's give it to this guy. Who knows, man? Turkey might say, no, I tell them to be fair, and I tell them this and then whatever. We don't know that. People are people. So I'm just giving you guys the news of what happened with the PBC. And like I said, to make it known, just think about it. What they're looking for, they may never find. And even if they do find it, it might not work out the way that they think it was going to work out. Just saying, y'all. Because let's be real. A lot of us been watching the UFC. The UFC has been stale for a while now. Kayla Harrison and Nunes is breathing some, new life into it. I don't know what their buy rates are for their pay-per-views and anything. But just saying, it's not been the same. And, people like, for example, how do you have, Aspinall and John Jones still fighting right now in 2025? And it's like, 1 week you hear, oh, they are going to fight. Then you hear they're not going to fight. Then you hear John Jones said he absolutely wants to fight Aspinall at some point. Aspinall wants to fight, but nothing's happening. Nothing at all is happening. So, you got to, before you invest in the company, before you do business with them, you need to know where they stand and what's going on. And when you have like the biggest stars in your company that don't want to fight, that's not a good look. So we'll see what it is. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, they've already acquired, one fighting championships. And I love watching fights. That's like my favorite combat sport to watch. Boxing has always been like my number one. But I'm being honest with you guys, man. It's too much bullshit going on. It's too much. You asking for too much money. You overpricing yourself. Too much. You ain't on my level. Or I'm not motivated to fight. It's just too much of every excuse to not fight. And when somebody has legitimate excuse, people will say it's an excuse because they don't like that person. Things that it's just too much bullshit going on. One of the things the UFC don't have to worry about is all these different sanctioning bodies and that whole you're overpricing yourself shit. It's either you want the fight or you don't. But anyway, that's my take on things. Talk to me in the comment section, y'all. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.